Welcome back, Exiles. It's Naidra. After quitting PoE 2 for a little while, I decided to come back after the most recent update, and I will say it has been a huge difference and it's been a lot of fun to play. Today, I wanted to show you guys my final version of my Lightning Spear Amazon build that I've been using. It's a little bit of an update from the previous couple that I posted. This one does take a little bit of inspiration from a couple of other YouTubers as well, so really excited to show you guys this extremely OP build. Before we dive into it though, if you guys have not yet subscribed to the channel, please don't forget to do so below. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Alrighty, so the way that this build is going to work is going to be pretty much the same as the previous Amazon build that we've posted, which is going to be Lightning Spear for all of the monsters we have on our map. As you guys can see, we've got a couple of changes to our skill bar down at the bottom. We did remove our Storm Lance and Orb of Storms, and we've replaced both of those with Serpent's Fury. Now, the purpose of doing this is Serpent's Fury is really good at taking out bosses in 1 to 2 hits. The downfall to it is that it does require frenzy charges in order for it to work. That means I can't just go up to the monster and just use Serpent's Fury. I do have to power up to it in order to be able to take advantage of it. Now, while we are using Serpent's Fury on our bosses, we should be able to take out everything else with just using our Lightning Spear. In fact, if you don't want to use Serpent's Fury, you really don't have to. You could just go with Lightning Spear even against the bosses, but this does tend to make it a little bit quicker. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look and see what this can do. Now, this is a juiced up T16 map. I juiced it up as much as I possibly could so that I can show you guys how powerful this build really is. With that, looking at the bottom left-hand corner, you guys can see our health and also our energy shield is a little bit low. So this does technically make the build a little bit squishy. However, because of the amount of power that we have with this, we're taking down all of our enemies before we even end up getting to them. And so really, we're not in any danger at all at any given time. One other change that you could make to this if you wanted to is you could add a Roa onto this and replace one of the other skills that's on here, which I will show you guys what you can replace in order to do that if you wanted to. Doing that would really just make speed farming a lot faster than what we're currently at right now. And again, because of the amount of damage output that we're dealing, we really aren't in any danger and we don't have to worry about taking any hits or dying. Another thing that I really enjoy about this build is it's really easy to use, so I don't have to worry about button mashing or any of those other things as well. That's one of the things that I don't like about some of the other games is you really have to push pretty much all of the buttons in order to be able to achieve what you want. This game doesn't really have that. I also did just post another video for a Sorceress or a Stormweaver, which is extremely easy to use. We're really only pushing one button at a time, which makes it a lot of fun. And so if you guys are interested in that, by the way, feel free to check out my previous video, which is the 1-button Ice Nova build. However, for now, I think you guys can see how this build works and how easy it is to use. I'm going to go ahead and make my way over to the boss, and I will see you guys there. Alrighty, so we just made it over to the boss, and let's take a look and see how long it takes us to take this guy down. So as you can see, we don't have any frenzy charges right now, which means we can't skip straight to our Serpent's Fury. However, we can start with Conductivity and Sniper's Mark and shoot out one Lightning Spear before finishing it off with just one hit. So again, really, really fun and also super easy to use. Let's go back to our hideout to see exactly what's making this work. Alrighty, so starting off with our equipment, because this is a Lightning Spear build, we are naturally going to be using the Tangle Tongue Forked Spear. Now for this guy, we want to primarily focus on the base critical hit chance that we're getting from this. So if you guys can get something closest to that 20% mark is going to be important. You will notice a big difference between something that's only got 15 or 16% crit versus something that's closer to that 20% mark. So important to keep in mind. As far as the runes go for this guy, we are going to be using the Greater Vision runes for some additional accuracy rating. And then next up for our gloves, we are using the Hand of Wisdom and Action. Now, this is really important to have with this build because we are focusing on getting as many attributes as we possibly can with this. And the additional lightning damage and the increased attack speed we're getting is really helpful. So this one, along with the Tingle Tongue, is a required item. Most of the uniques on here will be required in order to get you to that highest amount of damage output possible. For this guy, we have added a Greater Glacial rune to cover for our cold resistance. And then taking a look at our first ring, we are using breach rings with this build. Now, what's important to keep in mind with this is we want to try to get as much damage as we can from these. The additional physical damage is great. The increased lightning damage is absolutely crucial. If you can get something that gives you extra fire damage or cold damage in addition would be really good. If not, something like this is going to work really well. We've also got some evasion rating on here, but the additional elemental resistances from our rings and our boots is going to be really, really important because most of our equipment is not going to be able to to have any resistances on there. So if we want to max out, we do need to make sure we're getting as much of that as we can from our rings, our boots, and also from our belt. Now, that being said, taking a look at our second ring, we've got another breach ring. Similar idea here. We're getting some lightning damage and we're also getting increased lightning damage, which is really good. We've got our evasion rating and we've also got elemental resistances. For our helmet, we are using the Black Sun Crest. This one is not required, but again, because we are focusing on getting as many attributes as we possibly can, this is actually going to increase your damage output quite a bit. You will notice a big difference between having this or not having it. Now, as far as the rune goes for this guy, we are using a greater body rune so we can get some additional maximum life. Now, if you're not maxed out with your resistances, you will want to throw a resistance rune on here instead. For our body armor, we are using Warrior's Invictus. Now, the important thing to keep in mind with this specific piece is we have to make sure that we're getting all attributes from this, and the additional spirit is going to be extremely helpful too. Those two are required. For the other stat, it doesn't matter quite that much. I really didn't even care about that additional stat, but the two main ones that we're looking for is the attributes and also the spirit. When we look at the runes that we've inserted in here, we are using greater resolve runes on these. This is going to give us an additional 50 total to intelligence, which means we're getting additional damage output from this guy as well. For our belt, we're using a regular rare belt with this. The important thing for this guy is that we're getting some additional armor and mana, but really, again, focus on your elemental resistances with this. If you need to get something that's got triple resistances to cover for that other resistance, that's where it's going to be. Otherwise, pretty simple with this one and pretty straightforward. For our amulet, we are using the Astromentus amulet. This one's really, really good because it's giving us quite a bit more attributes overall. And we have allocated pure power on here too. And pure power is really helpful because it's giving us 2% increased lightning damage per 10 intelligence that we have. And we have a lot of intelligence. So we'll take a look at the stats in just a moment here. And then for our boots, we want to have something that's got the most amount of increased movement speed we can possibly get. The evasion rating is really helpful too, but this has to have 3 resistances on the bottom as well. Again, we really are limited to the amount of items that can have resistance on here, so we got to maximize on what we do have available on these guys here. For the rune, we are using a greater iron rune. We no longer need resistance runes because all of our resistances are already met. And then last but not least, we are using the Sacred Flame Shrine Scepter. This guy is really good as well. We want to focus on something that's got as much extra fire damage as possible. And then of course, the additional spirit that we're getting from this is also extremely helpful too. For the runes, we are going to be using greater resolve runes on here as well. This is giving us an additional total 40 intelligence just from those 2 runes there. So this is what our stats currently look like. We've got a crap ton of intelligence, dexterity, and our strength is pretty high up there as well, but we don't really care as much about that as these other 2 guys. Now, like I mentioned, looking at our life and our energy shield, those do look pretty low in comparison to what we've had in the past. However, we're really not in any danger with this build at all because we are taking everything down before we even get to them, so you don't have to worry about the squishiness or tankability of this build overall. Now, for our resistances, we are 3 short of maxing our cold resistance, which we will work in one way or another, probably getting a new belt that'll provide us with some additional cold as well. But all of our resistances are pretty much maxed. And then here is all of the other stats you guys may want to see. Taking a look at our skills, for our first skill, we've got Purity of Fire, and this is being granted thanks to our Sacred Flame Scepter. This guy we're going to be pairing up with Clarity. We've got Herbalism, and lastly, Vitality. Next up, we've got Spear Stab. This one we're really not using very frequently, but it does help because A, it is close range, and B, it does not use up any mana. This guy is going to be paired up with Lightning Exposure, so you can just stab a boss really quick with this so that you can create that Lightning Exposure, and then follow up with either your Lightning Spear, or you can use your Serpent's Fury. And then skipping on down to our Infused Weapon, this is going to be paired up with Concentrated Effect. We've then got Elemental Focus, following up with Neural Overload, Overcharge, and last but not least, we've got Culling Strike. Moving on down, we've got Herald of Thunder. For this, we want to pair it up with Innervate. We're going to throw on Glaciation along with Ice Bite, also taking Electrocute, and lastly, we're going to throw on Lightning Infusion. We'll then move on down to Barrage, which is going to be paired up with Premeditation. We also will be using Perpetual Charge. And then finally, Inhibitor. Next up, we've got Conductivity. Now, this one is going to be paired up with Focused Curse. We've also got Heightened Curse, and of course, Cursed Ground. For the star of the show, which is our Lightning Spear, we're going to pair this guy up with Fork. We're also going to use Martial Tempo, Volt. We've got Primal Armament. And lastly, we've got Longshot. Next up, we've got Elemental Complex. This is going to be paired up with Fast Forward. We're also going to be using Cold Mastery. Then we've got Fire Mastery. We've got Lightning Mastery. And last but not least, Precision. Now, I mentioned earlier that if you guys wanted to use your Roa, there is a skill that can be replaced in order to use it. This does give you quite a bit of damage by utilizing our Elemental Complex. However, if you wanted to, you could remove this just for the purpose of speed farming. And then, of course, you could always throw it right back on if you need it again afterwards. Combat Frenzy is up next. And Combat Frenzy will be paired up with Profusion, along with Cannibalism. Moving on down to Wind Dancer, we're going to pair this guy up with Magnified Effect, Reach, Unbreakable, and Arm's Length. For our boss killer star, we've got Wind Serpent's Fury. And this guy's going to be taking Overextend, Close Combat, Ambrosia, Hourglass, and Blindside. And then finally, last but not least, we've got our Sniper's Mark, which we're going to pair up with Ingenuity. We're also going to be using Inspiration. And lastly, we've got our Arcane Tempo. And then next up, we've got our passive skill tree. So starting off with our Ascendancy, we are going to be taking elemental damage up to Elemental Infusion. We're also taking skill speed along with Predatory Instinct. And lastly, we're going to take Critical Strike all the way up to Penetrate. Now, starting off with our actual skill tree, we are going to be starting with the Primal Instinct and taking that down to Eagle Eye. And then we'll continue making our way over to the right before we stop at Cooked. We'll then go on up and we're going to be grabbing these nodes up here, including Surging Currents. Next up, we've got Evasion along with Escape Velocity. We'll then stop for our very first jewel, which ideally we want to have increased lightning damage on here, some additional crit chance, attack speed, and any critical damage would be really helpful with this here. We'll then continue making our way down. We eventually come back and we'll grab this elemental damage along with this catalysis as well. But for now, we'll continue making our way on through the board. This will be the last thing that we grab. And this was achieved at level 92 and this will be at level 93. Continuing on down, we will then stop for Maiming Strike up here at the top. We'll continue making our way over to the right and fork on down to these nodes down here where we're going to be grabbing Acceleration along with Falcon Dive. And we'll grab pretty much all of the additional nodes here on this spear with the exception of the spear attack speed down here. We really don't need that one. We'll continue moving on down so we can grab this additional jewel socket down here. Now, similar idea to the previous one. For our jewels, we really want to have something that's got attack damage, critical strike chance, critical strike damage, and some accuracy rating as well. So we do have some opportunity when it comes to our jewels, but this is going to be close enough for now. We'll then start making our way on up the passive skill tree and stop for Electrocution. Moving on up, then we'll stop over at Enhanced Reflexes before stopping and grabbing Heart Stopping, Heartbreaking, along with Struck Through. Then we will be stopping at our third jewel slot where, again, similar to the other ones, we want to have some additional attack damage. We should have some crit strike chance on here, crit strike damage. The elemental damage and projectile damage is also really helpful too. Continuing on up our passive skill tree, we'll make our stop at Exposed to the Storm along with Wildstorm. And then we'll make our way on up and over to the left before we stop at the next jewel socket that we have here. Again, it's going to be pretty much the same as the other jewels that we have. This is probably the worst one that I have right now, which just goes to show that we still have some additional opportunity to make this build even better than where it's currently at. But honestly, it really doesn't need to be any better. We can take everything down as it is without having any problems at all. We'll then continue to make our way on up, stopping for True Strike. We've got For the Jugular, and in addition to that, we're going to grab Deadly Force. And then we'll continue making our way on over to the left, now stopping at Moment of Truth. We're also grabbing Crashing Wave. We've got Flow Like Water, Mindful Awareness, and last but not least, Step Like Mist. And so, like I mentioned, once you've collected all of these, then you will go on back down here, and that's when we'll grab elemental attack damage, and we can slap on catalysis as well. That's all I have for you guys for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the build in the comments below. Until next time, Exiles.